My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Scene Diary. Today, we dive deep behind the scenes of one of cinema's most iconic films, Gladiator. From casting to epic battles, here's everything you didn't know about the making of this masterpiece. Dwayne Burks wanted Ridley Scott to direct Gladiator from the very beginning. However, Scott was initially hesitant about the project. To convince him, DreamWorks president Walter F. Parks and producer Douglas Wick devised a plan. They explained the atmosphere they envisioned for the film and showed him a painting by French artist Jean-Léon Gérôme from 1872, titled Pouce Verso, meaning thumbs down. The painting depicts the iconic scene of a gladiator standing over a fallen opponent. Scott loved the painting, and it inspired him to say yes to the project. 3 writers are credited for the screenplay: David Franzoni, John Logan, and William Nicholson. But they didn't work as a single team. Each joined the script development at different times. David Franzoni was the first to develop the story, using Daniel Mannix's 1970s book Those Who Are About to Die, which recounted Roman gladiator games, as inspiration. In the 1990s, while working on Steven Spielberg's Amistad, Franzoni shared the gladiator idea with Spielberg, who loved it. Spielberg asked only 3 questions. Are there Roman gladiators? Do we see the Colosseum? Are there swords, animal fights, and so on? When all 3 were answered yes, the project was greenlit. Franzoni wrote the first draft in 1997, but Ridley Scott wasn't satisfied with the dialogue. John Logan, who had just written Any Given Sunday, was brought in. Logan added the subplot of Maximus's family being killed. Despite all these rewrites, the cast still complained about the script when filming began. On set, they had only a 32-page approved script. That's when William Nicholson stepped in. Nicholson gave Maximus more emotional depth, strengthened his friendship with Juba, and added a belief in the afterlife, enhancing the character's motivation. Commodus's sister, Lucilla, played by the brilliant Connie Nielsen, was also a history enthusiast knowledgeable about ancient Rome. She immediately objected when the early script mentioned museums and police, as these didn't exist in Roman times. Ridley Scott carefully avoided cliches typical of sword and sandal films. He wanted to steer clear of scenes with lazy aristocrats eating grapes and drinking wine. His goal was to create a realistic world, and the entire team worked tirelessly toward it. Costume designer Janet Yates and her team created over 10,000 costumes for the cast and extras, and around 30,000 pieces of armor were produced. Most of the Roman scenes were filmed in Malta, where a full-scale replica of the Colosseum was built. It stood 16 meters tall, took 7 months to construct, and cost around $1 million. Wide shots of Rome were enhanced with digital effects that pushed the boundaries of the era's technology. The film opens in 180 AD, depicting the Roman Empire's massive conflict against Germanic tribes in northern Europe. Hundreds of soldiers, explosions, and flames fill the battlefield. The scenes were filmed in Bournemouth Forest, Surrey, England. At that time, the Royal Forestry Commission had designated the area for logging. Scott made them an offer. If the forest must be cut down, let us do it using the studio's resources, but in exchange, let us film there. They agreed. Russell Crowe plays Maximus Decimus Meridius. Scott had first seen Crowe in the 1992 Australian film Romper Stomper and believed he was a talent worth following. Before Crowe, other names were considered, including Mel Gibson, who declined the role, saying he was too old for Maximus. Hugh Jackman and Antonio Banderas were also considered. When Crowe was offered the role, he initially found the script terrible. Producers were even hesitant to send it to him, fearing it would scare him off. They arranged a meeting with Ridley Scott instead. Crowe somehow got the script, didn't like it, and almost rejected the role entirely. Michael Mann, directing Crowe at the time on The Insider, encouraged him to meet Scott anyway. Crowe recalls being convinced when Scott said, "We have a $100 million budget. We're in ancient Rome. You're a general. And I'm directing this film." Crowe couldn't resist and accepted the role. In the opening battle, one of the most memorable lines, "Strength and honor," was improvised by Crowe and wasn't in the script. Likewise, when Maximus describes his home to Marcus Aurelius, Crowe was actually referring to his own house in Australia. Frustrated with the script, he often left the set, improvising lines, and even told writer William Nicholson, "Your lines are terrible, but I'm the world's best actor. I'll make them work." Nicholson humbly admitted they really were bad. Despite his frustrations, Crowe fully committed to the role. He endured multiple injuries during action scenes, including losing sensation in his right index finger for 2 years, straining his Achilles tendon, breaking his foot, fracturing his hip, and dislocating arm muscles. Joaquin Phoenix, playing Commodus, was nervous about the role and felt unprepared. Before filming scenes with Crowe, he told him, "Rough me up a little." Crowe jokingly replied, "Why don't you just try acting, little worm?" Phoenix took the comment to heart, replying, "Good line. Let's shoot." He became so immersed in the role that he fainted on set right after Commodus kills Marcus Aurelius. Though Maximus is fictional, Commodus was a real Roman emperor and as cruel as depicted. He fought gladiators himself, killed opponents by stabbing them in the back, brought disabled people to the arena, and demanded payment for each appearance, devaluing the Roman currency and contributing to the empire's decline. Commodus ultimately died by strangulation at the hands of wrestler Narcissus after surviving poisoning. Interestingly, Maximus's original name in early drafts was Narcissus. Another key character, the former gladiator and slave trader Proximo, was played by Oliver Reed. Reed accepted the role after attending several London theater performances. During filming, he became close friends with Richard Harris, but never got along with Crowe. Sadly, Reed died 3 weeks before filming wrapped, after a notorious pub outing involving heavy drinking and arm wrestling. His scenes were completed using a combination of rewrites, stunt doubles, and CGI. Reed posthumously received an Oscar nomination. Initially, Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for Proximo, but as the character aged and gained more dialogue, Reed was chosen. Maximus's first Colosseum battle, the Battle of Carthage, was followed by his confrontation with Rome's undefeated gladiator, the Gaul Tigress. Originally, Lou Ferrigno was cast, but the role went to Danish bodybuilder Sven Ole Thorsen. Real tigers were used in the arena scenes, reflecting historical practices of shocking gladiators. 5 live tigers were brought to set, supervised by a specialist with tranquilizer guns. One tiger came perilously close to Crowe due to a miscalculation, and that footage was kept in the film. For crowd scenes, real extras, digital duplicates, and 400 cardboard stand-ins were used. A recurring detail throughout the film is the Emperor's thumb, signaling life or death. Historically, thumbs up meant death, and thumbs down meant mercy. The filmmakers chose to depict it the way modern audiences expect. Maximus's tattoo reads SPQR, standing for Senatus Populusque Romanus, meaning the Senate and People of Rome, a key Roman phrase still visible on manhole covers today. Juba, one of Maximus's few friends, was played by Jimon Hounsou, who received sword training but nearly injured a co-star during a mounted fight. The film's iconic score was composed by Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard. Zimmer invited world-renowned tenor Luciano Pavarotti, who declined. Zimmer also faced a lawsuit from the Gustav Holst Foundation, claiming parts of his music resembled Mars, the bringer of war. Despite this, the score became one of the best-selling film soundtracks of all time. The film concludes with Juba burying small figurines representing Maximus's family in the Colosseum sand before returning to his family in Africa. In early drafts, Proximo did this scene and Maximus survived the story, but Scott and Crowe decided otherwise during filming. Russell Crowe has admitted he didn't feel deserving of the accolades, believing it was truly a Ridley Scott film. Nevertheless, Gladiator remains his favorite American film and Maximus his favorite character. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another Scene Diary. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.